Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. My name's Melissa, and in today's video I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, a little bit about why I started my channel here on YouTube. So stick around, press the subscribe button down below, and we'll chat. So, the first thing that you would probably notice right away about my channel is that it's called The Little Ford That Could. And the reason that it's called that is because my youngest son, Ford, is really kind of the reason why the YouTube channel was born in the first place. He just turned 5 recently, and he has had a lot of health issues, to say the least. And in our journey with him since the day he was born, I would post a lot on social media, and I just started using the hashtag the little Ford that could, and it sort of developed a little bit of a following on social media and in the allergy community, because one of his primary problems is a very long list of severe food allergies. But it turned into sort of a little bit of a following on social media. And over the past 5 years, I've had so many people say to me, you need to start a YouTube channel, you need to start a blog, you need. Um, I found as a new allergy mama 5 years ago, when I first found out that Ford had so many allergies. Well, really, we sort of found out one at a time. So in the beginning, it was just one, and the list grew longer and longer and longer, and I got more and more and more overwhelmed. And I realized that there's really not a lot of allergy mamas out there sharing their stories and sharing their struggles, and it's hard, y'all. It's hard. And so I shared mine on social media, and I found out through that process that a lot of other allergy mamas were feeling the same way. So finally, after probably literally years of thinking it over, I decided to try and make the leap. And it's way out of my comfort zone. Like, I feel really completely silly making videos. First of all, talking to a camera is weird. I mean, I've done films and commercials, and I do theater, and being in front of an audience is not something that is new for me. But being myself and just talking to a camera with nobody else around about myself is way out of my comfort zone. So this is kind of crazy, and I'm kind of not the best at this yet, but my heart is really to help mamas who are overwhelmed feel not so overwhelmed, because I wasn't sure. I'll just be honest, year one, I was literally not sure I would survive, much less be able to keep my baby alive. So the thought of having somebody else to talk to about that at that time, I can't imagine how life changing and life giving that would have been for me. And I've had some friendships with some other mamas, more personal friendships with other mamas, and help some mamas with a little bit of that. But to have a little bit wider range, um, range, what's the word? I guess a little bit wider. I just heard a kid yelling. I'm pretty sure it's my kid. I think they're out playing. Anyway, I'm outside because it's gorgeous today. It finally feels like fall here. It's like it's a super cool, like 90 degrees. um, anyway, so yeah, to have a little bit broader audience, bigger audience, and to be able to help more people is really my heart. And so that's kind of why I'm here. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our journey with Ford. Like I said, he just turned 5, and this really began the moment he was born, and it's a long story, and so I'm going to try to give you the highlights because otherwise we'd be here all day. But when he was born, he was a very big baby. He was full term. He was 9 pounds 8 ounces, and he seemed perfectly healthy. But right away, I knew something was not right. And I don't know if it was just mom gut, mom intuition, or what. He wasn't my first baby, he was my third baby, and I had had 2 previous very healthy babies before him. And I don't know, it just felt different, it seemed different. And sure enough, by the time he was about 3 days old, I knew for sure something was really wrong. And the pediatrician said, oh, he's just colicky, he'll outgrow it. And he didn't outgrow it. And then we started having major GI issues. He started spitting up, it seemed like everything he was drinking. And my oldest had had some acid reflux issues and had been pretty bad about spitting up. So that wasn't totally a huge alarm. But again, something inside me just said, this feels different than with Brooks, my oldest. But again, my pediatrician said, oh, I think it's just acid reflux. Let's put him on reflux meds. He'll get better. Well, he didn't get better. And then by the time he was just a few weeks old, that's when the skin symptoms started. And when I tell you he looked horrible, bless that baby's heart, he looked horrible. In fact, it's hard for me to look back at baby pictures of him because it hurts my heart so much and I feel so much guilt that I didn't find a way to make him better sooner. But he was awful. And so, a really long story, a little bit shorter, we were referred to a pediatric gastroenterologist. She's the first one who mentioned maybe food allergies. Well, actually, she said a milk protein intolerance first. And I was breastfeeding, and so she said, cut out everything from your diet, everything. Go completely vegan. I mean, I cut out all top 8 allergens. So if you don't know what the top 8 allergens are, if you're new to food allergies, the top 8 allergens in the United States, because it's different in other countries, but in the US we have what we call our top 8. And those are milk, dairy, soy, wheat, shellfish, fish, peanuts, and tree nuts. Okay, so that's our top 8 allergens. They're the most common allergens. So I eliminated all of those from my diet as well as all meat. Yeah, you heard that right. I eliminated all of that. What was I eating, you ask? Basically raw veggies and fruit. That's about it. Some beans. Well, let me tell you, that is no easy way to eat, especially when your family, your sweet, sweet family, is not sharing that same diet with you. So, tests, and more tests, hospital visits, and more hospital visits, complete change of my diet. Baby did not get better, baby got worse. And so at that point, we had to switch to an elemental formula, which was allergen free, dairy free. And at that point, his GI symptoms did get a little bit better, but his skin was not better. It was worse and worse. It felt like it got worse every day. It was to the point where he was like raw, oozing, bloody meat from head to toe. He couldn't walk. He couldn't bend his elbows and knees because he was in so much pain from open, infected wounds. It was horrific. He would wake up in a puddle of blood. I mean, it looked like a murder scene in the morning in his crib, and then in his bed once he got a little older. We saw doctors all over the Southeast. Nobody could help us. Nobody. They tried, but nobody could get him better, and they just wanted to treat the symptoms, and nobody wanted to figure out what was actually wrong with him. Well, through this process, we learned that he was in fact anaphylactic to 6 different things, and well, 6 foods, and also bees and stingy creatures, which we found out a little bit later. But by the time he had turned 2, we had almost lost him to anaphylactic shock 6 times. And let me tell you, running into an emergency room with your lifeless, not breathing baby is the most traumatic experience you could ever imagine. And we did that 6 times. I did that 6 times with my baby. And so, needless to say, the first 2 years were awful. Well, by that time, we had figured out, for the most part, what all of his allergies were, so we could avoid anaphylactic reactions. However, his skin was still not better, not even a little bit better. And during allergy testing and all the tests that they were running to try to figure out what was wrong with him, we figured out that his total IgE was also through the roof. Much, 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 much higher than it should have been, like over 10,000, and it should have been under 100 type of numbers. And so we visited doctors all over the Southeast. We visited doctors all over our area, out of state, in state, all over the state, states next to us, states above us. And we had an immunologist decide that he thought Ford had what is called a primary He thought that Ford has a disease that is in the category of primary immunodeficiency diseases, or PI diseases, a very, very rare illness. And it was a scary diagnosis, but at least we had one at that point. So it felt like bittersweet, because it was good to have some reason for why we were going through all this and why we couldn't get him better. But it was such a rare illness that nobody around here really kind of knew what to do with him. So we saw another immunologist, and that immunologist said, oh no, I don't think that's what he has. And so we saw a third immunologist, and that immunologist said, well, he checks a lot of the boxes, so he could have that disease, but he might not have that disease. So at this point, we still really don't know 100% what an official diagnosis would be for Ford. What we do know is that his immune system doesn't function properly. What we do know is that he's chronically ill. And what we do know is that he has a major, major long list of allergens, primarily food allergens, although he does have environmental allergens as well. So it has been quite a journey. And fortunately for us, God blessed us with the opportunity to go to the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland, which is in the DC area. It's been, I guess a year ago now, when we first were accepted into a study at NIH having to do with severe eczema, which is what his primary symptom at that point was. And they absolutely changed our lives and his life. And if you saw him now, today, you would not believe the difference. Now, that is not to say he is well. He is not. It is still a daily battle, a daily routine that we follow to keep his skin healthy. But man, the difference. So, Dr. Stone and Celeste and Nina, if y'all are watching, we love y'all. Thank you. Changed our lives. But anyway, so he is much better now as far as his skin, which means we don't have skin infections like we were having. And he was diagnosed with asthma as well, and he was having some chronic lung infections and issues. But we have been put on a daily medication to help that as well. And I'm happy to say that his lungs have been fairly healthy for the last year as well. So this last year has definitely been his healthiest year of his life to date. So, but it has completely changed our lives because we are a completely dairy-free household. We don't have dairy products in the house at all. We are a completely free nut home. We don't have any nuts at all, peanuts or tree nuts. He's highly allergic. He is egg-free, although I did get brave enough to have some eggs in the house, and so the rest of us do on occasion eat eggs, but very, very rarely. He's anaphylactic to flax, so we are a flax-free home as well. What am I forgetting? Dairy, egg, nuts, flax. Oh, shellfish. We're a shellfish free home as well because he is anaphylactic to shellfish as well. So my cooking has drastically changed since Ford came into our lives. And let me tell you, I didn't think any of us would survive in the beginning because I didn't know how to cook with all of those things, especially dairy products. But since we had to so drastically change our lifestyle because we also had to go chemical free in our home, so we're a completely chemical free house. Um, I don't use store bought cleaning products. We don't burn candles. We don't do any of that because it actually is um, often it triggers Ford's eczema and also his asthma, and we have just found that this is just a cleaner way for all of us to live. So we are allergen free, we are chemical free, and we have really adopted the crunchy way of life, all due to Ford. And honestly, as much research as I've done since he was born, I wish that I had learned to live this lifestyle a long time ago because I think my whole family would be healthier, um, just in general, if I had started living like this many years ago. But I digress. Regardless, that's how we live now. So, um, we're going back to NIH this coming weekend. We actually did a year in the eczema protocol, and he had so much great improvement that we were released from that protocol. But he's been asked to be in another study at NIH. They're studying food allergy kids, basically, in their nutrition. Um, just it's not a treatment protocol where they're trying to treat them or make them better or anything like that. It's just purely a study to just track data on severe allergy kids. So we're participating in that. So Ford and I fly out this coming weekend to go do that, and that's always a little bit of an anxiety for me, flying with the little one, especially an allergy kid. Airplanes are like a tin can of death for allergy folks. So it's always an anxious time for me when we go to NIH or we fly anywhere, which we don't fly very often, but for that reason mainly. But when we do, it gives me a lot of anxiety. So y'all pray for us because I'm going. My husband's staying here, which also makes me more anxious because I have to travel in DC with a 5-year-old by myself. um, so anyway, so that's what we're doing coming up. But I guess the point of all of this is to let you know, if you're an allergy mama or you're a mama of a kiddo with a chronic illness, that you're not alone. And so if you are that mama, tell me down below in the comments. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to chat with you and share tips, which is kind of going to be what my whole channel is about. So again, click the subscribe button below, and I hope that you'll stick around and come visit me some more. I am going to try to start uploading some content more frequently. So definitely come back and visit, and let me know what kind of content you'd like to hear about, especially if you're an allergy mom or a chronic illness mom, but just a mom in general. Just a little bit more background about us is I do have 3 kiddos who have a big age gap. So my older 2 are in 7th grade, and then Ford just turned 5 and he is in kindergarten. And I just finished my 17th year teaching last year. I have taught for 17 years in both public and private school. And at the end of the year last year, because of a lot of things, but one of the big reasons was Ford's chronic illness, we made the decision for me to quit my dream job, which was very bittersweet, to stay home. And I pulled all 3 kids out of school, and I'm homeschooling now too. So I'm a homeschooling mama. So if you're a homeschooling mama, let me know. That's kind of one of my favorite things to do on YouTube is to watch other homeschooling mamas. So comment below. I'd love to hear from you. I watch y'all's channels all the time. I could name a few people, but I might do that another day. Make a video of my favorite YouTubers. Anyway, so that's enough for today, but I just wanted you to know, if you are a mama with a chronic illness yourself, or if your kiddos have one, or food allergies, you are not alone. So keep up the good work. Mama-ing is hard, and us mamas gotta stick together. So see you next time.